I, Zixlac the Magnificent, once glorious God Emperor of the Praetorian Empire, stand before this council today. How the mighty have fallen. You ask me to recount the events that led to this moment, to explain how our vast empire crumbled before a species we once considered insignificant. Very well. Let my tale serve as a warning to all who would underestimate the fury of those strange beings called humans. It began, as many ill-fated campaigns do, with arrogance. Our empire had stood for millennia, conquering and subjugating hundreds of worlds. The Tref were to be our next acquisition, a species of little consequence, possessing a few resource-rich worlds on the fringes of our space. I remember the day I gave the order to invade. My war council was assembled in the Dome of Celestial Conquest, a vast chamber that had witnessed the planning of 1,000 victorious battles. General Vrock, our most decorated military mind, presented the battle plans with utmost confidence. My emperor, he said, his scale-crusted tentacles gesticulating at the holographic display of Tref space, their defenses are pitiful. Our quantum-fold drives will allow us to bypass their early warning systems entirely. We estimate total subjugation within 2 lunar cycles. It was then that High Inquisitor Quelthar, always the voice of caution, raised a concern. What of the humans, my emperor? Intelligence suggests they have some sort of alliance with the Tref. Laughter rippled through the chamber. I myself couldn't help but emit an amused chirp from my spiracles. The humans, those primates barely out of their gravity well? Their greatest achievement was a primitive fission drive that let them putter around their own solar system. Let them come, I declared, rising to my full height, my iridescent wings spreading in a display of dominance. If these humans are foolish enough to interfere, we shall swat them aside like the insects they are. Our photon lances will tear their tin cans apart before they even enter weapons range. Oh, how wrong I was. How catastrophically, unforgivably wrong. The invasion began exactly as planned. Our war fleets materialized in Tref space, bypassing their paltry defenses. World after world fell before us. The Tref, to their credit, fought bravely, but they were no match for our technological superiority. As the second week of our campaign dawned, reports began to trickle in of human ships entering the sector. I paid them little mind. Let them come, I thought. Let them witness the futility of resistance against the Praetorian Empire. I remember the exact moment when I realized my mistake. I was standing in my command center aboard the dreadnought Imperial Destiny when the first reports of combat with human forces came in. I expected news of easy victory. Instead, the commander's voice was filled with panic. My emperor. The humans. They're everywhere. Our quantum sensors can't lock onto them. They're using some kind of primitive projectile weapons, but they're tearing through our shields like they weren't even there. I didn't understand. It wasn't possible. How could a species that hadn't even mastered gravity manipulation pose a threat to us? But the reports kept coming. Human ships, appearing out of nowhere, striking with impossible precision and vanishing again. Ground forces that fought with a ferocity we'd never encountered, employing tactics that made no sense to our battle computers but were devastatingly effective. As I stand here before you today, stripped of my titles and my empire in ruins, I understand the magnitude of my error. We looked at humanity's technology and saw primitives. We should have looked at their history. A species forged in constant conflict, that had clawed its way up from the mud of its world to the stars through sheer determination and adaptability. We thought ourselves gods among the stars. The humans taught us that we were nothing but arrogant children, playing at war. And now the galaxy trembles not at the mention of the Praetorian Empire, but at the name of Terra. Let my humiliation be a lesson to you all. Humanity doesn't care about your advanced technology. They don't care about the supposed superiority of your species. When roused to war, they care about only one thing: victory, at any cost. And the cost, as my people learned, is terribly high. You ask how the humans responded to our invasion of their allies. Let me paint you a picture of an awakening giant, a slumbering beast roused to terrible fury. Our first inkling that we had gravely miscalculated came mere days after the invasion began. A transmission broadcasted on all frequencies, in perfect Praetorian. This is Admiral Helena Thibault of the United Earth Fleet. You have attacked our friends and allies, the TREF. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. I remember laughing when I heard it. The audacity. A single human daring to threaten the might of the Praeturian Empire? I dismissed it as empty bravado. How wrong I was. Within hours, reports flooded in from our frontier worlds. Human ships, appearing from nowhere, striking with pinpoint precision. They targeted our supply lines, our communication relays, our sensor arrays. Not the actions of a technologically inferior species, but the calculated strikes of a race intimately familiar with warfare. But it wasn't just their space tactics that caught us off guard. On the ground, human soldiers fought with a ferocity that left our troops shell-shocked. They employed weapons we had dismissed as primitive chemically propelled projectiles, directed energy weapons that seemed laughably underpowered compared to our photon lances. Yet these primitive weapons tore through our advanced armor like it was tissue paper. Our energy shields, impenetrable to most known weapons, flickered and died under barrages of simple kinetic rounds. I demanded explanations from our scientists. How could this be possible? Their answers chilled me to my core. My emperor. One trembling researcher explained, the humans. They've weaponized principles so basic, so fundamental, that our defenses were never designed to stop them. Their projectile weapons accelerate small pieces of metal to velocities our shields can't register as threats. Their energy weapons operate on frequencies our systems don't even detect. It was as if we had spent millennia perfecting defenses against a planetary siege, only to be undone by a simple knife to the back. But it wasn't just their weapons that terrified us. It was their adaptability, their ruthless efficiency. We intercepted their communications, expecting to find panic, disorder. Instead, we found a species mobilizing for total war with a speed and unity that defied comprehension. Their entire economy pivoted to war production overnight. Civilian ships were retrofitted into military vessels faster than we could track them. Every human, it seemed, from bureaucrats to farmers, had basic military training. They formed militias, guerrilla units that wreaked havoc behind our lines. And their information warfare. By the cosmic egg, their information warfare. They hacked our systems with ease, turning our own automated defenses against us. They spread misinformation that had our commanders jumping at shadows. I remember the day I realized we were not fighting a war, but struggling to survive an extinction event of our own making. A report came in of a human counter-invasion of one of our core worlds. The footage showed human soldiers, standing amid the ruins of our greatest cities, their primitive projectile weapons still smoking. One human, his face covered in the soot of battle, looked directly at the camera. His words haunt me still. You came to our allies' homes, thinking you were gods among mortals. We've come to show you that you're just bullies who picked on the wrong kid's friend. Humanity's here now. Run. As I recount this, esteemed council, I want you to understand. We did not lose to superior technology. We did not lose to greater numbers. We lost to an indomitable will, a species that looked at the impossible and simply refused to accept it. We thought ourselves the apex predators of the galaxy. Humanity showed us we were simply the first to stick our heads out of the primordial ooze, and they were all too happy to shove us back in. As the human counteroffensive gained momentum, I, in my arrogance, still believed we could turn the tide. After all, we were the Praeturian Empire, masters of 1,000 stars. Surely these upstart primates would eventually break against the full might of our forces. I was a fool. The humans didn't just fight, they innovated at a pace that left us reeling. Every tactic we developed, they countered within days. Every advantage we thought we had, they turned against us. Take, for example, our quantum fold drives. We had always believed them to be our ultimate strategic advantage, allowing us to appear anywhere in a star system instantly. But the humans, they found a way to detect the subtle subspace ripples that preceded our jumps. Suddenly, our greatest asset became a liability. Our ships would emerge from quantum fold only to find swarms of human vessels waiting for them, weapons hot. Or consider our hive mind combat neural networks, which allowed our forces to act with singular purpose and efficiency. The humans introduced a virus, a simple string of code that should have been harmless to our advanced systems. Instead, it created a cascading feedback loop in the network. I still hear the screams of thousands of my soldiers, their minds trapped in an endlessly repeating moment of terror. But it wasn't just their martial prowess that undid us. It was their ability to win hearts and minds. Everywhere they went, they liberated. Not just the Tref, but every species we had subjugated over the millennia. They offered them not servitude, but alliance. Planets we had held for centuries rose up against us, guided and armed by human advisors. I remember the day I realized we had lost not just the war, but any claim to moral superiority we might have clung to. We intercepted a transmission from a human medic to one of our wounded soldiers. Instead of executing him, as we would have done, she was trying to save his life. "Easy there, big guy," she said, her strange, flat face creased with concern. "War's over for you. Let's get you patched up." Such compassion, even for an enemy. It was alien to us, incomprehensible. As our defeats mounted, desperation set in. I authorized weapons we had deemed too unethical even for our own use. Planet killers, swarms of self-replicating nanites, dimensional rifts that would consume entire star systems. The humans met each escalation not with horror, but with grim determination. They suffered losses, yes, terrible losses. But where we saw such casualties as strategic setbacks, they saw fallen heroes to be avenged. Their Admiral Tebow's words, broadcast after we unleashed a planet killer on one of their colonies, still send shivers down my spine. "You think this will break us? You think we'll cower before your atrocities? No, you've just showed us that there can be no peace while your empire stands. We offered you a chance to walk away. That chance is gone. Now, we're not fighting to defend, we're fighting to end you." And end us they did. World after world fell. Not just reclaimed, but liberated. Our subject species turned on us, revealing that the iron fist we thought we ruled with had been paper all along. In those final days, as I huddled in my palace, waiting for the inevitable, I finally understood. We had not been defeated by the humans' weapons, or their tactics, or even their allies. We had been defeated by their fundamental nature. Their stubborn refusal to submit, their ability to unite in the face of overwhelming odds, their capacity to see even their most hated enemy as a person worthy of compassion. We thought ourselves the pinnacle of evolution. The humans showed us we were nothing but stunted children, play-acting at empire. As the human ships entered orbit around our throne world, as their marines stormed my palace, I realized a terrible truth: we had not brought war to the humans. We had awakened a sleeping giant, a species forged in the crucible of their own violent history, tempered by a moral courage we could never comprehend. And the galaxy would never be the same. The fall of the Puruan Empire was not a graceful descent, but a catastrophic collapse. As I stand before you now, stripped of my titles and my delusions, I can recount the final days with a clarity that haunts my every waking moment. Our last stand took place over Puruan Prime, our throne world, the gleaming jewel of our once vast empire. We had gathered every ship, every soldier, every scrap of technology we could muster. Surely, I thought, even the humans would balk at the cost of taking our homeworld. I was wrong. So terribly, finally wrong. The human fleet arrived not in the dozens or hundreds, but in the thousands. Ships of all sizes from every nation of Earth, and alongside them, vessels of the Tref and a dozen other species we had once subjugated. It was not merely an armada. It was the judgment of the galaxy made manifest. Admiral Tebow's voice crackled over our communications systems, bypassing our best encryption as if it were a child's puzzle. "This is your final chance. Surrender, face justice for your crimes, and your people will be spared." In my pride, my foolish, unforgivable pride, I refused. What followed was not a battle. It was an execution. The humans did not rely solely on brute force, though their firepower was terrifying to behold. They had studied us, learned our weaknesses, and exploited them with surgical precision. Our planetary shield generators, disabled by infiltration teams that had been on world for weeks, disguised as refugees from our own colonies. Our mighty orbital platforms, turned against us by hackers who wrote code faster than our AI could adapt. our vaunted warrior caste, rendered impotent by a biological agent that targeted our neural implants, tailor-made to our unique physiology. As our defenses crumbled, as human ships landed on our sacred soil, I received reports that broke whatever remained of my spirit. Our subject worlds were not just rebellion. They were seceding, joining what the humans called the Galactic Confederation. We had ruled through fear for so long, we never realized how fragile our empire truly was. The final assault on my palace is a blur of fire and screams. I remember human marines, their primitive projectile weapons spitting death, fighting alongside Treff warriors and rebels of a dozen species. They moved with a coordination I had never seen, each race complementing the other's strengths. When they finally breached my throne room, I expected execution. Instead, I was met by a small team led by a human female. She was unarmored, armed with only a small sidearm. "Ex-Emperor Zixlac," she said, her alien eyes boring into me. "I am Captain Julia Martinez of the United Earth Peacekeeping Force. By the authority of the Galactic Confederation, you are under arrest for war crimes against sentient beings." War crimes. The concept was alien to us. War was war. To the humans, though, even conflict had rules, lines that should not be crossed. It was incomprehensible. As they led me away, I saw my world through new eyes. The opulence of my palace, built on the suffering of countless beings. The rigid castes of our society, now revealed as a prison for my own people as much as for our subjects. In the space of a few short years, humanity had not just defeated us. They had fundamentally changed the very nature of galactic society. Where we had built empires, they forged alliances. Where we sought domination, they offered collaboration. As my transport lifted off from the planet of my birth, now under the jurisdiction of this Galactic Confederation, I finally understood the true lesson of our defeat. The humans had not merely conquered us, they had outgrown us. And in doing so, they offered the galaxy a vision of unity we had never imagined possible. Our empire was gone, and in its place, a new order was rising. One founded not on fear and domination, but on mutual respect and cooperation. It was the dawn of a new age. And I, Zixlac the Magnificent, once glorious god emperor of the Praeturians, was nothing more than its first cautionary tale. And so, esteemed members of the Galactic Council, we arrive at the present. I stand before you, Zixlac the Fallen, last emperor of the Praeturians, to face judgment for crimes I still struggle to fully comprehend. The chamber around us is a testament to the new order that has risen from the ashes of our conflict. Representatives from 100 species, many of whom were bitter enemies just years ago, now sit side by side. And at the center of it all, the humans and the Treff, the alliance that reshaped the stars. You ask me to account for my actions, to explain the atrocities committed under my rule. How does one quantify centuries of oppression? How does one justify the arrogance that led us to believe we had the right to dominate all we surveyed? I look to the human members of this council, still awed by their contradictions. They are capable of violence that shook our empire to its foundations, yet they insist on this process of justice rather than simple retribution. They wield power that could easily allow them to dominate as we once did, yet they choose to build coalitions and consensus. Their insistence on trying me as a war criminal is perhaps the most alien concept of all. The idea that even in the chaos of conflict, there are lines that should not be crossed, rules that must be respected. It is a morality that we Praeturians, in our supremacist delusions, never developed. As I listen to the evidence presented against me, to the testimony of those who suffered under Praeturian rule, I am struck by a profound realization. Our defeat at the hands of humanity was not just a military failure, but a moral one. We had become the very monsters we once feared lurked in the dark between the stars. The humans and their allies didn't just beat us, they offered the galaxy a better way. Where we saw only resources to be exploited, they see potential allies. Where we sought to impose uniformity, they celebrate diversity. Their galactic confederation is built on principles of mutual respect and cooperation that we, in our arrogance, never even considered. I see now that the humans' greatest weapon was never their adaptability in combat or their tenacity in the face of overwhelming odds. It was their capacity for forgiveness, their ability to see a future beyond conflict. Even now, as they judge me for my crimes, I see no hatred in their eyes, only a deep, unwavering determination to build a better galaxy for all sentient beings. As my trial concludes and you prepare to render your verdict, I am left with a final, humbling thought. The humans whom we dismissed as primitives, whom we thought we could crush beneath our heel, have proven to be the most advanced species of all. Not in technology or military might, but in the one area we never thought to measure the capacity for moral growth. They have taught me that true strength lies not in domination, but in collaboration. That diversity is not a weakness to be stamped out, but a resource to be cherished. That even in the darkest moments, there is potential for redemption. Whatever punishment you decree, know that I accept it fully. The Praetorian Empire is no more, and rightfully so. But from its ashes, I see a galactic community arising that fills me with something I had thought long lost hope. To the humans, to the Tref, and to all those we once wronged, I cannot undo the harm we caused, but I can say what my pride would never have allowed before. I am sorry, and thank you for defeating us, yes, but more importantly, for showing us a better way. The stars have entered a new era, and though I will not live to see it in freedom, I go to my fate content in the knowledge that the galaxy is in better hands than it ever was in ours. Let the judgment of this council ring out across the cosmos. Let it stand as a testament to the dawn of a new age. An age shaped not by the Praeturians and our ilk, but by humanity and the better angels of all our natures. The Galactic Confederation faces challenges, no doubt. But after witnessing humanity's indomitable spirit firsthand, I have no doubt they will rise to meet them. And so I await your verdict, not with fear, but with acceptance. For in judging me, you reaffirm the principles that will guide us all to a brighter future among the stars. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I hope you loved it. Please remember to subscribe if you did like it so you can see more videos like this. And please give us a like and a comment too. I'll see you in the next one.